In the headlines, Southern minibus operators threaten strike action. Prime Minister Alan Shasney says pop star Dua Lipa followed all COVID-19 protocols for her St. Lucian holiday. And the body of a male who was shot dead at Wapatat is identified. The details are coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Loveless and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Monday, the 6th of July, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News on Flow Channel 117, Kiss FM, the Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and our Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. The Southern Minibus Association is threatening strike action. According to the president, Philip Jabatis, the association's members have grown frustrated with the prolonged observation of physical distancing on public transportation. Jabatis says plying the route at limited capacity is unprofitable, particularly in the case of the Castries to Vieux Fort route, where pirate operators who are not registered continue to carry full capacity. Jacques Wooding reports.
As physical distancing protocols continue to ease, the Southern Minibus Association is calling on authorities to reflect these developments within the transport sector. President of the Southern Minibus Association, Philip Jabaptis, says throughout negotiations and protocol enforcement, the membership has been patient and adherent to the guidelines of authorities. However, he believes it has been too long since the last adjustment, which allowed 10 passengers to a bus. He says if a blind eye is turned to the grievances of the Southern Minibus Association, a coordinated sick-out will be staged.
And if the government cannot address this and the Ministry of Health, by this week, I'm afraid to tell them that the 2H will fall sick. The 2H will be sick. And will be sick mentally, physically, and we will be sick. So they better prepare for 2H to be sick if they cannot address that. We need 10 and 15 passengers.
Jabaptis believes that the membership is justifiably frustrated.
We took the sacrifice for 2 months. We never ruled one day. Then it came to the 9 passengers with the barrier. We came back and addressed and said we cannot work because when you get to the barrier, you still have passengers to present a paper saying that they're going to work at some place, and it was difficult at the time for the passengers to do that. Then the barriers came out. They gave us 10 passengers. Now I'm saying 10 passengers is just a matter of you leaving your house as a consolation now for a few hours and go back to your house. That does not make any sense.
He queries what he says are existing inconsistencies on various bus routes.
Every other route in St. Lucia takes 15 passengers, except the 2H. And when we cannot take the 10 passengers according to protocol, the police now, I don't know if they are targeting the 2H, but I hope they don't, if they are. If they are targeting the 2H, they even put passengers off if you have one person in excess as a family member. They even put the person off at the barrier where they're doing the checkpoint. Now, what we are saying is, if the police is doing that at checkpoints, why allowing the pirates who passes with the people like on the same route if they allow them to go? And it's only the 2H they're targeting. Why? We need to know why.
The president says financial responsibilities were not left in the pre-COVID world, and drivers must be given a fair and substantial opportunity to meet their commitments. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
Thank you, Jacques. Pop star Dua Lipa, who soared to international success with her smash hit New Rules in 2017, is currently vacationing here in St. Lucia. And according to Prime Minister Alan Shasney, all COVID-19 protocols were observed by the pop star. On a radio interview with Scaddy and Franny on Monday, he disclosed that the pop star and her boyfriend came here when St. Lucia opened up its borders on the 4th of June 2020. Prime Minister Shasney said Lipa applied, she was pre-tested, and he says luckily for her, she was able to come on a private plane and went into a villa at Sugar Beach in isolation. He added that all proper protocols were put in place when she arrived on the property. Her temperature was taken, the staff had PPEs and were being tested on a regular basis. The Prime Minister met with the pop star personally and said when he did, she had her mask on and everyone was observing social distancing protocols. The president of the National Taxi Union, Lucian Joseph, believes that the government should revise the timeline for resuming tourism activity. Joseph spoke out in the presence of tourism officials and the media during a Monday morning presentation. More in this report.
With time ticking down to the arrival of the first commercial flight since the reopening of borders, President of the National Taxi Union, Lucian Joseph, is still not convinced that St. Lucia is ready for this development. Joseph says, as a taxi driver himself, he fully understands the financial strains placed on tourism stakeholders throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. However, in his opinion, he would prefer a loss of money over a potential loss of life.
I still believe that we are not ready yet to open the country. I still believe I am afraid of what is happening, because really what is happening now is that if you look at the industry as it is and the amount of things that is happening overseas, you should be very cautious and take a lot of care the way you do things, because while the taxi drivers are at the forefront of everything, we have a family, we have everything too. Yes, we want the money, we want the country to reopen, but we must understand there is a repercussion to it, and whether we want to accept money for life.
Tourism Minister Dominic Fede says he too maintains a level of concern regarding the reopening. He says previous projections charted a decrease in COVID-19 case frequency of main markets by this time. However, what prevails is an exponential increase.
We look at the main market, the United States, and instead of the cases go downwards, they go upwards. And we have the opportunity to see the experience of the various countries that have sought to open for tourism.
Fede says the decision to resume tourism activity remains difficult.
The decision that we all have to make as a taxi sector, as a government, as hoteliers, as sites and attractions companies and vendors, is how do we strike this balance between opening back for business while we have done a very good job in curtailing the spread of the virus in St. Lucia, and at the same time keep our nationals safe.
He stresses that the situation remains fluid, and given the ongoing state of emergency, the government is in a position to take the necessary action if circumstances become unfavorable. Jacka Wooding, Hot 7 News.
On Monday, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet reflected on the news of the liquidation of Caribbean airline Liat. Following months of defiance, refusing to lend funds to the finance-stricken airline, the PM says this was the precise reason why he would not budge, as it was only a matter of time before Liat went under. He says, on the other hand, he feels optimistic about regional air transportation, as a number of airlines are prepared to step in to take Liat's place. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
On the 28th of June 2020, announced that finance-stricken regional airline Liat will be liquidated. This news came as no surprise to Prime Minister Alan Chastanet, who for months has been adamant that he will not pour funds into keeping the airline afloat. This, he said, was a waste of much-needed money. The PM said the news, though predictable, is nothing to celebrate. He said this move was a long time coming.
We're talking about people's lives. Right, we're talking about over 800 people who have, many of them, dedicated their lives to Liat, and who've lost their jobs. So for me, I'm not going to sit here and be vindicated in that. It's just sad that given the level of amount of evidence that we've had for the period that we've had, that governments would not have recognized that this should have been done much earlier. Liat was recapitalized, I think it was about 10 years ago. And even when it was recapitalized, it was already heading in the wrong direction. So it's very, very sad. I just really wish that the governments would allow the private sector to take over this sector, and for us to support those airlines. I don't think it requires heavy investment by the government. Once the governments get involved, and airlines have to start becoming impartial or partial about the decisions they're making, it's a problem.
Prime Minister Chastanet indicated that he welcomes the news of a number of new airlines that have lined up to take the place of Liat.
I am very encouraged that there are several airlines who have been making applications. And as I had indicated for a very long time, that now that the oak tree is gone, the grass will grow. A lot of people who were skeptical that if Liat went under, that there would be no replacements to it. We're seeing 6 airlines step up to the plate. So that's now, not true. I believe that this is a sector that should have as minimal government investment as possible, and that we should make sure we have policies in place to encourage the growth of those industries. So I'm very happy to see that this number of new companies willing to step up to the plate.
The PM said the Antiguan PM has expressed interest in starting up a new airline, and if this is the case, once there is a clear understanding of how said airline will operate, then his government would consider investing in it. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Police have identified the body of a male who was shot dead at Wapatat Castries. They say he is Simeon Shamal Christopher. The body of the 26-year-old was discovered last week in a yard. According to law enforcement, a post-mortem examination on Friday found that Christopher died from traumatic brain injury secondary to basal skull fracture due to a gunshot wound to the head. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the Prime Minister gives assurances that St. Lucians in neighboring islands will be able to return home despite the impending demise of Liat. What is to become of hotels used as quarantine sites? The SLHTA CEO speaks. And an independent committee is appointed to oversee the management of COVID-19 telethon funds. With that and more coming up after the break.